all about my first trimester. And I feel like I'm gonna vomit. So I didn't realise, but I conceived back in November of last year, and I didn't know because I literally must have conceived and the very next day flew to Australia for like a 3-week holiday with one of my best friends, Caleb. Because pick me up, Caleb. He didn't actually pick me up. He wasn't at the airport when I arrived. I
That's not true.
I was really tired, but I just thought that that was jet lag. And also I did have really bad constipation. Like, I didn't go to the toilet for almost a week. There's a video clip, because I film all of my trips, where Caleb is like, what the fuck has happened in your bathroom?
I don't even know what happened in his bathroom, but something totally went down. Like, whoa, what the fuck?
It was because like, we were trying to like use a chair, you know, like if you raise your legs, you're supposed to be able to go easy. We tried everything. So aside from that, I was also super sleepy the entire trip.
This is a friend. Pass out on the sofa. Like, she's totally asleep. Like, you can go right up to her. Friend, do you want to go out tonight? It's 9 o'clock.
Wake it up. Would you like some pizza, hon? No, none of this.
And so the holiday was actually one of the most extreme of my life, which is quite ironic. We went to a really dangerous part of the ocean in the Whitsundays, where they have jellyfish that can actually kill you. And so we had to wear like these suits and everything so that we didn't get stung. And not only that, we went jet skiing in really rough waters. I mean, we nearly died. There's only a slight chance we could die of a jellyfish sting, so I think like probably worth it. So yeah, very worried about this situation.
Most horrific experience of my entire life. I legitimately thought that it was the end for me.
It was the worst experience of my life. I survived another day. And not only that, we also went on a load of roller coasters.
Woo, not great!
So the day before we went to the roller coaster park, my husband called me and he was like, look, take a pregnancy test because you don't want to like do any heavy drinking or go on any roller coasters if you're pregnant. And so I'd taken a pregnancy test with me, took it, and it said negative. So I was like, party time! Well, party time whilst being really sleepy. So I went on a roller coaster that was the most terrifying thing that I'd ever done in my life. And I was kind of tricked onto it. Like the whole day at the roller coaster park, I was unbearably hot and had quite a few panic attacks. And this really isn't like me at all. Like, I don't have panic attacks in my regular life. And there were 2 or 3 occasions where I was on a ride, and it was usually when the sun was beating down us and when we were waiting for the ride to start, and where they'd clamp you in. And I just felt super claustrophobic, and I was like, I need to get out. I need to get out. And Caleb was like, you're freaking out. Like, I've never known you be like this. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I normally enjoy rides, but I just was freaking out. And so we went on this really terrifying ride, and it basically pulls you backwards at like nearly 100 miles an hour. And as it went, I was so terrified. I was like, please stop the ride, I'm pregnant. And I had no idea that I was. In fact, I'd taken a pregnancy test that said that I wasn't. But it's really interesting when things like that happen. You just think, is that my subconscious that knew I was? And it basically just came out in a moment of fucking terror. So that was that trip. Luckily, the baby and I survived 70+ hours of flying and all of those things I just mentioned. So a couple of days later, this was in like December, I was at work and I'd had 2 or 3 days where I felt really ill. Like, I just couldn't be bothered to get out of bed. I felt ill in my body, like tired and sick, but I also just felt really low in myself as well. And I remember my mum saying to me that if it's morning sickness, if you eat something, it will like subside a little bit. So one morning I was just feeling really sick and I thought, I'm just gonna go to the cupboard and eat a few Doritos because they're like dry and plain. And sure enough, I felt a little bit better and I was like, holy moly, okay, let's ignore this. So I went to work and I had like a 2-hour break where I had no clients. So I thought, I'm gonna come home and do a pregnancy test. Why not? And the only one I had was like this cheap rubbish. It's like, it's the worst. It's not even a real, I don't even know where I bought it. I buy it in India or something. It's like the worst pregnancy test ever. And I took it and it said pregnant. And I was like, oh my God. So I phoned my husband and I was like, oh my God, I think I'm pregnant, but it's like a really cheap rubbish test. So I was like, right, I'm gonna go to the pharmacy. And I got Ava on her lead and I was just like taking her down to the pharmacy, and she kept wanting to stop and like sniff trees and go, and I was like, no, we haven't got time for this. And like just dragged her down, and we went down to the pharmacy and I got a pregnancy test. I had to tell the man in the pharmacy, I see him all the time, so it's like my local pharmacy. I was like, just taking a pregnancy test, but it says I'm pregnant. I can't believe it. And he didn't give a shit, but I was just like, I mean, I can't keep things in. He was literally like the first person I told. Oh, after my husband, the first person I told was the weird man in the pharmacy. Ooh, that's weird. So as soon as I got home, I took that test. And on that particular test, it came up with the control line first and then the actual pregnant line. And because it came up with the other one first, I was like, oh no. I've told them that I'm pregnant and I'm not. Like, it was just a cheap rubbish test. And then sure enough, a minute later, the other line came up. So I was like, whew, okay. So that night, my husband brought me home some flowers, which was really lovely. And he also brought me the incredibly romantic present of a dating pregnancy test. And that way it would tell us when I was pregnant, because it was really confusing, because when I took it in Australia, it clearly said that I wasn't. That night we went and had dinner in the London Sky Garden, and it was really lovely. It was just such like a nice celebratory night, and we were both really happy, and it was a night I'll always remember. So because I had obviously been doing all this stuff in Australia and flying and all that jazz, I really wanted to have an early scan, because I was just really concerned. I wanted to make sure that everything was okay and that everything was viable. So we went and had a private scan done, and the scan picture is like, they had to put the words baby and an arrow, because like you could not see that it's a baby, but they were like, the heartbeat is strong, everything is good, you're good to go. So a week before Christmas, I gave all of my family cards that said in it that we were gonna have a baby, and I filmed it, and I'm so glad I did that. I always wanted to capture their reactions to when I like told them they're gonna have a grandchild or a niece. And like, yeah, I'm really glad I did that, because I look back on it even now, like I look at it probably once a week and I'm like, ah. First trimester symptoms were awful. The first trimester is by far the worst, I think, because you can't really tell anybody that you're pregnant. Although I totally did. I had terrible nausea most days and really bad tiredness. Like, I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired every single day. I took quite a few days off work because I was just like, I just can't go in. And not only that, but I think I started to have the symptoms of prenatal depression. I felt really, really down and really, really angry. And I remember even as we went into our 3-month scan appointment in the lift, I literally like nearly had an argument with the woman in the lift, and Casey's like, you're fucking crazy. And I was like, I know, but what can I do about it? My cravings were really interesting. I 100% craved fruit. Fruit. That's all I wanted. Like, I'm still a bit like it now, but it's kind of gone. But I could eat like 4 apples in a row. I'd quite often have a fruit salad for dinner, and I would just skip food altogether. Fruit is what I needed, and fruit is what I got. The 3-month scan was amazing. I think it put a lot of my fears to rest, and it really closed the chapter of trimester 1, which had been quite an uncertain, precarious time for me, because I'm not very good with uncertainty, and pregnancy, if anything, is uncertain. And so once I got to that 3-month stage, I was just like, whew, thank God. Also at the 3-month scan, they told us that there's a 70% chance that it's a girl, and I've always envisioned this baby as being a girl, and I've always pictured my life as having girls, and so I was just like, oh my God, that meant so much to hear that. And they said that, yeah, it's like 70% chance that it's a girl, so I was just like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. We're having a baby. And it was really lovely seeing everybody's reactions, and it's lovely to see how excited like our family are, and it was lovely to tell my friends. I told them just on WhatsApp, like we have a little WhatsApp group, and I just put on there like, surprise. And I think they were quite shocked because one thing I've learned from this is a lot of people didn't think that I was going to have children. So I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, a lot of people didn't think that I would. Anyway, I think that's all I really remember from my first trimester. Yeah, that's about it. It was rubbish. On to the second trimester.